People, when Hamas is talking about eliminating Israel, it's talking about not killing all of the Jews. It's about eliminating the idea.
Okay.
It's about...
She would say, how dare you? How dare you white-splain to me? How dare you mansplain to me?
Douglas Murray has once more exhibited his sharp intellect and steadfast moral clarity, this time directing his critique at Brianna Joy Gray, a well-known American political commentator.
There has to be a one-state solution, which means that there cannot, when Hamas is talking about eliminating Israel, it's talking about not killing all of the Jews. It's about eliminating the idea.
Gray, who has held prominent roles, such as National Press Secretary for Bernie Sanders' 2020 campaign and senior politics editor at The Intercept, recently made a surprising defense of Hamas's charter.
Okay.
It's about...
Leave it there. We'll leave it there. We'll leave it there.
It's about, let me just finish, sir. Can I just finish the sentence? It's about limiting the idea of a Jewish state, ending a Jewish state, ending an ethno-national state, and having a state more like what we have in the United States of America.
Her assertions that Hamas is simply pursuing democracy and not targeting Jews were both factually incorrect and morally indefensible. Now Douglas, alongside Rita Panayi, discussed this in quite critical detail.
Douglas, some of her panellists were bursting out laughing at that, but again, she holds a fairly more senior position. She is not just some kid from a university campus, and to be that frightfully ignorant of Hamas and what that charter is and what they say they want to achieve, I'm not easily shocked, but I was shocked by that.
Rita, and probably the rest of us, were shocked with that comment.
Yeah, I mean, it's shocking, really, Rita, in its ignorance, first of all, but then also in its sort of moral ignorance, because, of course, I don't know. I mean, play this any other way around. Let's say if a white man explained to Brianna, I think her name is Brianna Joy Taylor, I think it is, yes. If somebody explained, if a white man said to her, the KKK, which doesn't exist anymore, the Ku Klux Klan, don't really dislike black Americans. They just want to do blah-de-blah.
Douglas deems this claim to be astoundingly ignorant on both factual and moral grounds. He pointed out that if a white man made equally dismissive and inaccurate comments about the Ku Klux Klan, he would face immediate and justified condemnation. In contrast, Gray's remarks appear to be overlooked, revealing a clear double standard that Murray is quick to highlight.
She would say, how dare you? How dare you white-splain to me? How dare you mansplain to me? What do you know? And so on. But she thinks she has the knowledge about the current biggest enemy of the Jewish people. And she thinks she has not only the knowledge, but the judgment and the right to tell Jews that her version of what Hamas is correct, and that they should just kind of take her word or take her judgment or take her reassurance that, they don't really want to kill you all. They just they're just doing it for kind of social justice, and the rape and the murder and the beheadings are sort of awkward interim. This is, as I say, not just, factually ignorant. As I said, there's something morally wicked about doing that. She would accept that in no other situation of somebody to explain what a terrorist group actually seeks to do and say, no, just trust me, just trust me, listen to me on this, not them. Don't listen to them when they say kill all the Jews. Trust me that I'm the brilliant interpreter of this group's words.
By downplaying these horrific goals, Gray is engaging in a deeply troubling form of moral relativism. Douglas emphasizes that her comments are not only ignorant, but morally reprehensible, as they attempt to minimize the very real and deadly threat that Hamas poses to Jews in Israel and worldwide. We should also remember the threat to Christians as well. The strength of Douglas's critique lies in his ability to merge factual accuracy with moral insight. He not only refutes Gray's statements, but also highlights the ethical consequences of her words. By categorizing her comments as morally indefensible, he urges us to acknowledge the broader repercussions of such ignorance. It's about more than just factual correctness. It's about grasping the moral gravity of those facts and their tangible impacts.
Her name's Brianna Joy Gray. I think I was so shocked by her comments there. I forgot to actually name her. Thank you for that, Douglas. Before you go, just quickly, we're seeing a fight back against the CRT, critical race theory, and diversity, equity, inclusion, the entire race-obsessed dogma. We've seen DI programs dumped or wound back at a number of universities. Even Harvard's Faculty of Arts and Sciences dropped its mandatory diversity statements. And yesterday, the New York Times published this about the man who played a big part in pushing this ideology. Ibram X. Kendi faces a reckoning of his own. The New York Times were shocked by this, appalled. But is the grift over, Douglas?
Douglas also tackles the broader issue of critical race theory, CRT, and its impact on academic and social discourse. He highlights the recent pushback against CRT and diversity, equity, and inclusion (DEI) programs, focusing on Ibram X. Kendi. Kendi, a leading advocate of these ideologies, has faced significant criticism for his controversial methods and questionable financial practices.
The self-styled Ibram X. Kendi was an obvious con
not his real name.
Not his real name. Was a con artist from the beginning, and anyone could see that. His work, such as it was of such a low caliber. He made his own definitions up for words, and then said if you didn't agree with him, you were the enemy. I mean, this is a man who wrote a whole book called How to Be an Anti-Racist that turned out to be, the answer was, be me, Ibram X. Kendi. Shocking, isn't it, that somebody who was so shockingly illiterate in the ways of thinking and much more should have ended up also being a horrible grifter who was given millions of dollars to set up an entity on campus at a very prestigious American university, and then suddenly the money went missing and nothing was done.
Douglas's capacity to link seemingly unrelated issues, Hamas's charter, CRT, and broader cultural discussions, demonstrates his intellectual versatility and moral consistency. He doesn't limit himself to addressing isolated instances of ignorance or moral failure. Instead, he views them as part of a larger, interconnected pattern of thinking that must be confronted and corrected.
With the money, I mean, it's almost like Ibram X. Kendi decided to go and set up every racial negative stereotype he could, and then enact it. It's an appalling thing. He in the name of anti-racism, he just made a lot of loot and then ran off with it and mismanaged it. And I'm glad that people have caught up with him. But just think of all of the people, all of the good people. I think of people like David Dorn, black cop, who famously, lost his life in 2020 riots. All those black people whose names are not known and who did not make huge sums of money off this anti-racism grift, and just got on with their life, knuckled down, were great members of their community, and sometimes gave their lives to their community in the name of law and order. I just can't imagine the shame that an Ibram X. Kendi should feel for making a living off a set of claims that are provably false, defaming the country he's in, defaming the country he's from, and then just running off with the cash. It's astounding.
Douglas's critique offers a refreshing perspective for those of us who value truth and moral clarity. It underscores the importance of not becoming complacent in the face of ignorance and moral relativism. Instead, we must confront these challenges directly, armed with facts and driven by a strong sense of ethical responsibility. Share your thoughts on this topic in the comments below.